The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, offering Co-op Advantage checking with cash back on all purchases, plus secure debit card controls, all from the UMass 5 mobile banking app. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, helping customers make the switch to solar for savings, energy security, and tax incentives. Learn more at northeast-solar.com.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. It's usually Live Music Friday around these parts come this time of the week.
And we will have music for sure, or rather, we're highlighting where the music is this weekend.
But all of this music is going through something.
And maybe helping you work through a little something too.
So we'll discover the 200-plus member multi-city chorus that tackles rock songs 3 times a year, including this weekend, and meet some of the singers of Rock Voices, who perform the songs of Queen at the Academy of Music in Northampton this weekend.
And we'll chat with innovative and evolving musician Madison McFerrin, whose dad you are probably familiar, but she's an intriguing artist in and of herself and using her musical platform to address issues of social trauma.
And tonight and tomorrow, you'll have a chance to see a work in progress that also seeks to make a history more humane by looking head on at the strife that made it.
Now's the time to stand, to speak truth hand in hand, to overcome everyone. Use our power.
Today and tomorrow, folks in the 413 will have a chance to see a new story come to life at the A.P.E. Gallery in Northampton. Keep Your Heart Open is a musical memoir taken from the mind, inspiration, and memory of Marcia Gomes and brought to the stage with a full cast.
The play focuses on 4 generations of Black single mothers in one family as they join forces to free the youngest generation of children from a cycle of intergenerational trauma and pain. Through compelling storytelling, moving original songs, and dance, the path to healing becomes more clear and the wisdom of the ancestors lights the way to healing and joy. With us now from the production is Marcia Gomes.
Marcia Gomes is a vocalist, multi-instrumentalist, composer, and actor. Marcia's deeply moving original songs explore themes of faith, hope, redemption, and social justice.
Marcia is a graduate of Berklee College of Music with a degree in voice and songwriting. Her debut album of originals, Overcome, Songs of Faith, Love, and Justice, was produced by June Millington and released in 2020. She has performed and collaborated with Evelyn Harris, Samira Evans, June Millington, Miro Sprague, in addition to performing her work throughout New England and beyond.
Her bio states that she's currently working on her own musical, but we're pretty sure that this is the musical that she was working on. Are we correct in that?
Well, it is. It's still in development.
Okay. Working.
And once you are blessed to have as many gifted artists collaborate with you and actually read and become those characters, then it's like now you have the right tools.
Yeah.
But I want to thank you for that wonderful introduction, and I'm looking forward to talking about this piece and all of the wonderful kind of miracles and coincidences and all the serendipity that happened for it to get to this place. There's still a part of me that's kind of like, okay, is this really happening or is this a dream?
Talk about the start of this project. Where did the idea come from to do a story about like this specific lineage?
That actually was not the original plan. Now, I knew that I would put some of my real story into it, or it would be inspired by true stories. And I've always been fascinated by the connection of history, the stories that we pass down and we receive from our elders. As someone who comes from a family of storytellers, like my grandfather, Edmund Levine Clark, is part of the Great Migration North from South Carolina. And I just grew up hearing him tell stories. And when you tell the stories in my house, you get up and you act them out, you know, with the voices. You stand where you're supposed to stand. If the moss was hanging from the tree and it was scary, you bend down and look at it. And so I just thought everybody did that. There was one point when I was writing this piece, which originally was going to be good intentioned, but it was going to be a little nebulous. You know, this historical trauma that has traveled through us, and then the personal traumas that we heal from. And as an adult survivor of trauma, I really did not want to pass that on to my nieces and nephews. I'm the oldest of 7 girls. There was a period of years where I thought maybe I will become a mother too, but that has since passed. And so my sister's children and their children's children are my children. For 30 years, I've watched these beautiful babies come in who are always loved no matter how we come into the world. And then the worry about, are they going to get what they need to be healthy, safe? Will they know how to love themselves enough to have joy? And I want to pass that on. We have these wonderful guides like Resma Menachem, my grandmother's hands, who's written wonderful stories and guides along the path of psychologists and people who have studied trauma and how we heal from it. I'm 62 now. I have watched the science grow with me. So I remember when PTSD, we were mostly only talking about Vietnam vets, okay? And then I remember when we were talking about PTSD with adult survivors of trauma. And I was particularly sad and discouraged by the theme that, well, hurt people hurt people. And I'm like, hey, I need you to know I and many of the people I love who have been hurt do not hurt other people.
Yeah.
It can happen, but it does not have to happen. And the other part of the story I wanted to make sure got told is that when we go back to our trauma, you can't just go back there. And you can't just sit in a chair with a good intention therapist and talk about it. Something physically has to happen. There are a number of things that have to happen for you to be ready. And you don't just dig it up and talk about it and feel better. You have to have certain safety things around you in place. You have to be well-grounded. So you have to have one foot in the past and one foot safely planted in your present. And whatever support you need, you go back. My bringing this up is a risk because I don't want to cause hardship or pain for other family members who may or may not remember. But I go back because in trying not to remember those hard memories and closing that part of my heart off, it meant I lost something precious too. And so this story that became personal, even though it was never meant to be this personal, really, is because I started to remember precious things that I left behind. Even in the midst of so much pain, there was joy. And there are people, there are elders who are no longer with me physically, but their love is so alive. I can hear them. I can feel their hugs. And I thought, I want to give that to my great nieces and nephews. And so what happened is I was gifted with serious play theater, and the A.P.E. lab created this collaboration of artists with various experience, and I always saw myself as the weakest link. Some people had already had MFAs in the theater arts, and they were working on their 3rd play, and then there was me. I've been carrying this baby in my heart. I can go back to the 90s, you remember. I've been carrying this baby. But now I'm in a lab with people who are doing it for a living. We got to talk and workshop and share our unfinished pieces and our ideas, and sometimes perform in each other's workshopping pieces. And then the biggest thing that changed, because I'm a full-time middle school teacher.
Amherst Regional, right?
That's right. They gave me a space where I could go. I created my own schedule, and I went once a week, and I showed up for an hour and a half in a space where I know all of these wonderful performances, art, visual art, dance. And I wrote, and I wrote, and then I reread what I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote. When I couldn't write, sometimes I would read inspiring things. And one of the most inspiring things I read on a day when no new writing came to me was by Elizabeth Acevedo. She was interviewed in a magazine because she was releasing her first adult novel. And they said, how do you know what to write? She said, I write what haunts me.
Ooh.
And I said, that's it. That's what's missing. I'm ignoring the stuff that haunts me. And then the other thing that happened in that lab, I shared part of my writing with the other artists. One of them says, it reminds me, I don't know if you've heard of Allison Russell, and I hadn't. And then I listened to everything I could find. She had received a grant in Montreal to release her first CD of totally personal, amazingly poetic and musical songs about her childhood trauma. I said, oh my God, that's so beautiful. And it's like you're honoring your trauma and your healing process. You're not stepping around it. You're not trying to minimize it. But the art transforms it.
Yeah. And you're not making the entire surrounding. The trauma itself is evolving with you while you're doing this art about it.
Yes.
We're speaking with Marcia Gomes, who tonight and tomorrow will have a performed stage reading of this musical memoir that we've heard a lot about the development of, called Keep Your Heart Open, at the A.P.E. Gallery on Main Street in Northampton.
Is it hard to choreograph something that you know is going to be read and not memorized?
Yes, which is why I didn't try to do it myself. And you know what? I was actually inspired because I remember you and Sam and Alicia and For Color Girls 10 years ago doing that. And
the
just
A.P.E.
sitting and go, at the A.P.E., once I saw what you can do with movement, how you can tell the story, I remembered that. And so I asked my friend, Olivia Olano Davis, who is the founder of Spectrum in Motion, the dance company ensemble that's now like 36 or 37 years old, and they are amazing performers. But what's amazing about it is that it's been around so long, and it's more like a wraparound services dance program where they get tutoring during the week. Then in the summer, there's a 7-week dance camp. When I go to her performances, there are grandparents and their daughters and their grandchildren in the same production. So she has helped families grow together through movement and dance. So she's working with us.
I love that so much.
Marcia Gomes, you've talked a little bit about how this didn't start out as something that you wanted to make very, very personal, but has now become very, very personal. And you are an incredible musician, extremely talented. How has the creation of the music about this and as a production helped you navigate through your own trauma? Has it enlivened or awakened or healed you in a way that you were not expecting to put it out there in an artistic form?
Definitely. I'm so glad you asked that. I didn't know this was going to be a musical. There were days when no words came, but music came. And sometimes, often when I write my music, sometimes the music comes first. It could be a melody. It could be a rhythm. It could be a bass line. It could be one line. And what happened in one of the early workshopping days when I was just meeting alone in a studio, just sitting there looking at the empty stage and thinking, a song came to me. The first song for this piece that I wrote that was new was For Little Girls. When I really went back to 1968 and I remembered me, and as the oldest of my mom's 4, so we're between the ages of 6 and 1. And I remembered those 4 little girls. I was blown away by how quickly the story unfolded in 4 verses. I said, oh my goodness, that works. I grew up with gifted musicians, an uncle who was a child prodigy pianist and played organ in the church. My Aunt Flo, who was also a minister of music, and I could hear that. All of a sudden, my auntie's bass line, Aunt Flo's bass line. Boom, ba-doom, da-doom, 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 da-doom. And I said, okay, it's got to sound like 60s and a little like Sesame Street music.
Yes.
Yeah, with the kids, yeah. And it came out, and I was just blown away. I said, wow, I think this is going to be a musical. I wonder if any more songs will come. And they came. And they came. And what was different is I could be more present safely in the music. So the feelings came. And once I was able to feel more, because it was a safe place, the images and the memories came. And I remembered hard times when my grandparents would show up after a 10, 12-hour drive from Belle Vernon, Pennsylvania to Massachusetts. And I can remember how the house immediately, the energy changed in the house. And then my Nana and Pap Pap song came. The music is part of the healing. Yeah, the music, the movement. And then for me, as the playwright, to see these amazing, talented singing actors perform and become these wonderful people who I love is such a gift and so healing.
Let's hear about that a little bit too, because like there is a certain appeal of especially work that is very personal in making it a one-person show, so that you are the only person who really has to embody it, the only person who has to bring it to stage. But what in your show and in this script, even as a work in progress, have your actors really connected with, and has that resonated with you in ways you weren't expecting?
Yes, it has. Being a young actor who doesn't, perform often except, 4 or 5 shows a day as a teacher.
Facts.
When I would write these stories, I would try to copy and transcribe verbatim conversations that I remember that were really important in my healing process. In the workshopping when we were reading together, I would just read them. I'd just read them. And then she said, "Da, da, da, da." And it was wonderful to have one of my cast members is Michelle Dowd, who's a really gifted actress. She's going to hate this. I hope she forgives me. But she has won just about any award you can think of in the Boston area for her work, in addition to her full-time work as a big-time banker. She also knows me because we're friends from back in the 90s in Boston. She hates that I moved to Canada and Western Mass, so we don't see each other as much. But she knows me. And so when I would read, she'd say, you're reading. No. I know it's a staged reading, Marcia, but you need to remember those moments. You need to see that staircase. You need to remember your last time you saw your dining room table. And then I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And it got to the point where I would stop myself and say, I know, I'm reading, I'll do it again. But then to watch them become these people and to really have the conversations, it's like I stored these memories till a later time when I was ready to process them. I feel like now is the time I'm really processing them. Like she'd say, that was your moment. Where did you get the courage to say that? This is your moment. You need to stay with that. Now try it again.
Incredible.
I want to ask more about this, but I also feel like anything else I ask is going to be giving too much away, and people need to go and see this, even as it's a work in progress, especially because if you see it now and then you see it later, you get to see all the ways that the piece evolves, and there's something really beautiful about that, too.
You have an opportunity tonight, this evening, 7 o'clock, at the A.P.E. Gallery on Main Street in Northampton. And again, tomorrow afternoon at 3, it is called Keep Your Heart Open, a performed staged reading of a musical memoir with story and music by the fantastic Marcia Gomes, and with a stellar cast as well, including Michelle Dowd and Angelica Castro and Evelyn Harris and more. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us here today and on the stage.
Thank you so much for having me. This is wonderful. Thank you.
How many Trayvons does it take to be free?
You can get tickets to tonight's and tomorrow's performance at justkeepclimbingmusic.com/performances.
On the way, Queen comes to our country through Rock Voices. A chorus will be performing songs from the band's catalog this weekend.
But up next, the music lives on in a third-generation musician using her work to tackle issues of society and self in one groove-laden swoop. Madison McFerrin joins us before you can see her for free tonight in Greenfield.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, offering co-op advantage checking with cash back on all purchases, plus secure debit card controls, all from the UMass 5 mobile banking app. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop.
Hi, this is Madison McFerrin.
Hello, this is Monty and Khalees from the Fabulous 413, where you'll be this afternoon.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
How you guys doing?
Good, and you?
I'm doing well. Just hanging out in Boston for a second before heading your way.
Ah, nice.
Excellent.
Less trees, but still pretty.
Yeah, we're both from that area, so.
I'm from in the area.
And I was born in the area and then grew up outside that very area.
I grew up literally a block from the Black Art Museum.
Oh, okay, cool.
And you went to Berkeley too, right? So you probably know the area well.
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been 10 years since I've spent any time here, but I was remembering things as I was driving through.
Yeah, cities shift faster than most places, but still there's a lot that's the same.
Stay away, don't.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. 413, we are joined by Madison McFerrin. Throughout her career, Madison has earned accolades from the New York Times, NPR, The Fader, Pitchfork, and more. Her genre-bending work has led to Questlove dubbing her early sound Soulapella.
I love that. When Questlove gives you any kind of name, it's an honor, I'm sure. In addition to
Yes.
a stirring performance on the renowned Color Studio platform, Madison McFerrin has also performed at Lincoln Center, Central Park Summer Stage, Brick Celebrate Brooklyn, and shared stages with the likes of De La Soul, Gallant, and The Roots. Speaking of Questlove, she's worked at the intersection of artistry and community building by co-curating programming for the Brick Jazz Festival, aligned her Mad Love initiative with the Brooklyn Bridge Park Conservancy to provide some much-needed space for healing from the collective trauma of the pandemic.
Her first full-length album, I Hope You Can Forgive Me, came out last year after a string of EPs, and she's playing tonight for free, or as my sister would say, free 99 in Greenfield, headlining alongside local phenom Kimaya Diggs. Thank you so much for joining us, Madison McFerrin.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, sure. You're touring with a band now.
I am.
And initially, you were working with just yourself, just you and Loop and your musical ideas on stage. Are you making the arrangements for the band yourself, or are you collaborating with them to flesh out what you've done in studio now?
It's kind of a combination. You know, a lot of the stuff that we're playing, the music already lends itself to the arrangements, but then I have a couple very talented friends who help make it sound even bigger and cooler.
And it's not your first time working with a band either. For people who were introduced to you as a solo artist, like you had a band in school and then sort of left that. If you had had the opportunity to continue working with bands, do you think that your first couple of albums would have included that as well?
No, I think everything worked out the way that it was supposed to. I am so grateful for my band in college, Cosmodrome. Actually, they are featured on my album. They're the people who are playing on the track Utah, which was nice. We got to reunite after a while, but, you know, we really cut our teeth in Boston when we were coming up, and that was really instrumental to my confidence building as a stage performer and also being able to play with a band. And I am so grateful for that experience. I think that I needed to have the time to myself to explore solo music looks like. I'm equally grateful for that experience as well, because it allowed me the time and space to hone those skills in a way that I think was really necessary. Because one thing about playing with a band is you can kind of hide, you know, like even as a front woman. And when I was doing completely solo music, you know, it was just me and my voice and my loop pedal, and I had nowhere to run. It was just me. Everything was relying on me. And like, I think I needed some of that pressure to kind of get my skills to where I wanted them to be and where I know they could be. And also as a touring musician, you know, I was actually able to make a living because I wasn't paying more people. You know, it's just now that I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm touring with a band. I have to like worry about all these extra logistics and financial situations that I hadn't been thinking about for the 4 years that I was touring completely solo. So I think all of the experiences are equally important and really fuel this moment where I'm trying to take things to the next level.
How does touring with your band, or touring even solo, compare to touring with your dad as part of his ensemble?
I mean, two completely different beasts, because I'm an independent musician and he has like teams on teams behind things. You know, I definitely got spoiled a little bit with that experience, but at least I know what's possible.
We may have failed to mention in your intro that your dad is Bobby McFerrin, who many people know, of course. And we are speaking with Madison McFerrin, who is playing for free tonight as part of Off the Common that Hawks and Reed puts on the last Friday of the month in the summertime, which is in conjunction with the Greenfield Arts Walk. You're going to be there performing with Kendra McKinley and Kimaya Diggs and Daisy Skelton. It goes from 5 to 11 at night. It should be an awesome time in downtown Greenfield.
For sure. Actually, like, beyond your father, you've got a really long musical pedigree in your family, actually. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because I don't think everybody knows how much further it goes beyond your dad.
Sure. I mean, I'm a third-generation vocalist, probably beyond that if I really dug deep. But in terms of professionally speaking, my father's father, Robert McFerrin Sr., was the first African-American to sign a contract with the Metropolitan Opera. He was also Sidney Poitier's singing voice in Porgy and Bess. And his wife, my grandmother, she was also very instrumental in him being able to do that, as she was a vocal teacher herself and was recognized by the state of California for her excellence. So, yeah, it definitely runs deep.
I got a chill when you said that your grandfather was the singing voice of Sidney Poitier and Porgy and Bess. I love that so much. I'm just a sucker for musicals is really what it comes down to.
I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. One of the things I think that you did is really interesting, and I think it's been sadly missing as a society, is working on the trauma that we all experienced as a nation and a world with a global pandemic. I was lucky enough to be at least part of some local ceremonies commemorating and memorializing the people who died, but we lost 1 million people here in this country alone. Talk about your decision to do that and how it helped you navigate through your own trauma surrounding the pandemic.
Well, I think that we still have not dealt with it collectively. We're trying to kind of move past it as if it's a thing of the past, whereas I know at least 2 people right now who have COVID. Mm-hmm. So the idea that we're just over it is such a false narrative. But I think that we were globally traumatized by this really crazy event, and we were not really given the tools to deal with it collectively, particularly in America, just because we don't have the healthcare system or infrastructure set up to really be about community and be there for people for the most part. Hopefully that changes in the near future. But I know that music is incredibly healing. It always has been for me, and that's a message that I get at shows from fans all the time. And when we had the opportunity to, safely convene outside, I wanted to be able to throw events that would bring people together and also just bring people joy after being stuck and lost. And, I was doing that in New York when I was living there at the time. And, especially being in New York, stuck in an apartment and not really being able to go outside in the wintertime and stuff, I think that there was definitely a darkness that had come for all of us that we needed to kind of expel and just enjoy each other's company and experience community like that again.
But I think that's not just the only community trauma that your music deals with. There's a
No, definitely not.
It's not all trauma music. It's not joy through the trauma
exactly.
music.
It's a matter of healing and mental health and honestly community mental health, because it's not just the songs that deal with the pandemic, but it's also the songs that deal with the onslaught of let's say publicly sanctioned black murder that often is captured. You have a series that deals with your song Guilty on TikTok that just when verdicts come out, and I know it ended with Trump, but when verdicts came out, just the chorus is this person's guilty, this person's guilty.
That motherfucker's guilty, that motherfucker's guilty, that mother is guilty.
And there's something really cathartic about that too. But I also feel in tandem with that, your song Run kind of keys into that feeling of the community trying to heal around public trauma. Can you talk about dealing with public trauma in song?
I do think that it's really important for musicians and artists in general to reflect what's happening in the world around them. I think that that's one of the roles of an artist, or at least that's one of the roles that I feel like I'm supposed to be doing in this space. I think that music and art in general has always played such an important role in society and in social movements. And I've just always felt it necessary to speak out on issues that I am passionate about and not hide from that. And in terms of my own personal traumas, the things I write about are incredibly personal because I understand that I am not the only person to, 1, feel the things that I'm feeling, or 2, experience the things I've experienced. Humans have been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years. And so we've all experienced heavy, deep emotions of sadness, pain, joy. So I really just try and use my own experiences to tap into something greater, to tap into deeper sentiments that everybody can connect with.
Later, we'll find you a whole room of some bodies to love when we hear all about the Queen concert being put on by Rock Voices this weekend.
But first, inspiration, independence, and more with Madison McFerrin, who you can see this evening totally free in Greenfield.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM. We're speaking with Madison McFerrin, who this evening is going to be playing outside Hawks and Reed, right in downtown Greenfield, in Court Square in front of the Greenfield City Hall, alongside Daisy Skelton and Kendra McKinley and Kimaya Diggs for a free show put on by Hawks and Reed. You went to Berkeley, Madison, so you know Massachusetts on the right side of this state. How much time have you spent over here on the left side of the state and Western
Not much
Massachusetts?
at all. Not much at all. I mean, when I was in my band in college, we did a lot of New England random stuff. So I'm sure I made it out that way at some point in time. But other than that, nothing is really coming to mind as like, oh, I spent a decent amount of time there.
Well, we hope you enjoy it. I watched a video of you that Amoeba Music puts out called What's in My Bag, which I love, this series, where artists are shopping at Amoeba, a great record store in L.A., and then they ask you what you've purchased.
Is it LA or San Francisco?
The one I went to was in L.A. I don't know. There might be one in San Francisco, too.
There is one in there. Yeah, there are a couple.
There was some fun stuff that you picked there. What are you going to be listening to in your drive out this evening from Boston to Western Mass? Any ideas?
That's a good question. My band and I, we like to kind of switch it up on the road. So it'll be a surprise. I've already listened to my morning news headline situation, so I've got that out of the way. But I don't know. Maybe I like to be surprised. It's nice to discover new music with the people that I'm traveling with. So TBD.
Do you take turns? Like I get to pick a song, and then you get to pick a song, and then you get to pick a song?
Or you just build a collaborative playlist?
No, I think it's more, we do more albums.
It depends on how long the drive is. My family does the same thing.
Right,
if it's a long drive, we'll do albums. If it's a shorter drive, we'll do songs. We don't want somebody to dominate this 45-minute long drive with their one album.
That's fair.
Right, exactly.
Your family is incredibly musical, and you've worked with members of your family on different parts of your work. What's the difference between working with your brother and working with your dad? Or do you feel like there is a difference?
I mean, my dad's whole thing is improv. He's innately more playful in that space, but I think his sense of play has translated to all of his children and now grandchildren. But Taylor, it's more so we sit down and we can are more focused, I would say. Yeah, it's more focused on a point, whereas my dad is more so let's throw everything at the wall type of thing. But they're both fun and great and very talented, and I'm very blessed to get to work with both of them.
Technically, your debut album came out last year, but that's after 3 EPs and a handful of singles. Do you feel weird about the fact that all of that music is not considered to be albums for you, or was it important to have an album that was cohesive by itself to be considered your debut?
The latter. It was really important for me to have a concise project that was conceptual, that all fit together to be this is my album. That was really important for me because the other things were more just kind of ideas. My initial thoughts for releasing them was more so I need to get something out while I am working on an album so that my name can be out there and I can get some buzz. And that it took off a little more than I was anticipating. So I was I guess I got to chill with this a cappella thing for a second and kind of focus on that. But I definitely wanted to make a concise project as my debut.
I love the fact that you kept the a cappella tradition. I mean, it would be really easy to say, my dad is very famous for this, so I'm not going to do it at all, but you do it so brilliantly. And then when I hear the things your cover of Everything in Its Right Place from Kid A that weaves in all sorts of other different sonic sounds, I think it's fantastic to use all of the colors that you have available on your palette.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I actually think the perfect song not to keep coming back to this song, but I really do love it. It's one of my favorites on this album. Run, I think, is that neat juxtaposition between where your band comes in and where the a cappella has been for this whole time. But are there things you're starting to play around with that we will start seeing on albums that you're really excited about?
Well, I just finished recording the next one, and I think you'll hear a bigger sound from me. which I'm excited about. It's really just about expansion. I think that's the main thing that they can expect from the more music, and whether that's expansion via sonically or melodically or texturally, I think my goal in life is just to expand. So I think that that's going to be what continues to happen in these years to come.
I feel like I want to ask in similar fashion to Monty's question about what you're listening on the way. I feel like you're like one of those artists that's doing really neat things in music, and I love listening to that innovation. So who do you think is being really innovative right now? Who should we be listening to kind of get inspired in similar fashion?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm into the latest Hiatus Coyote album. I've been a fan of theirs for years. My friend Lorraine makes really cool music. That's L''Rain. I feel like her stuff is really different and out. Yeah, I mean, I think that there are so many places to look. Sometimes it can be hard. There's like so much music that comes out that you have to get like hyper focused. But that's just a couple.
Madison McFerrin is playing for free tonight as part of Off the Common. It's the last Friday of the month in the summer in conjunction with Greenfield Art Walk right out in front of Hawks and Reed, that wonderful spot for the performing arts in downtown Greenfield, making the drive out from her old haunts near Berkeley and Boston to be there this evening, along with Kimaya Diggs, Kendra McKinley, and Daisy Skelton. It goes from 5 to 11, and as I said, it's free, and there'll be games and food and all this great music. Welcome to Western Mass. Thanks so much for coming out here, and thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Do you still like Freddie Mercury, even though he blatantly says that he doesn't like Star Wars?
He has so many other redeeming qualities.
And we'll hear about the over 200 people inspired by those qualities to do a whole concert of his band Queen's songs.
Rock Voices is up next.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
NEPM's podcasts are funded by Armbrook Village Senior Living in Westfield, with support services designed to help seniors age in place, including a Compass Memory Support Neighborhood. More at armbrookvillage.com.
Page 9, page 8, letter I. You know this part. Just the last chorus. You don't need your music. Here we go. Soprano, alto, tenor. Is 1, 2, letter I, 2, 3, 4. Don't stop me now. Don't stop me now. Don't stop at all.
You're out of the rehearsal. Get out of there. Now you're going to come talk to us about what happened. You know what you did. We know.
We are at the Church of the Most Holy Redeemer in Hadley, right next to the courthouse.
In front of the Quarters. This is the more important landmark.
Exactly, and we had George Myers from Quarters on earlier this week. But anyway, this church right now is the Church of Her Most Holy Queen, the rock band, because Rock Voices, billing itself as America's community rock chorus, which I think of as young at heart for young people, is here rehearsing because Saturday, July 27th at the Academy of Music, the Summer 2024 tribute to Queen, Rock Voices. What is your name?
I am Kate Powell.
And what's your name?
I'm Donna Rowe.
You are two of the community singers that come here and participate in Rock Voices. For those who have never heard of Rock Voices, tell us what it is.
Rock Voices is really a community choir made up of people from age 18 to upper 80s. And
so young at heart age and young age.
Right. No auditions. You don't have to read music. We are all great friends. We support each other in all kinds of things. We do fundraisers for community agencies. And 3 times a year we put on concerts. And it's all rock and roll.
When you decided that Queen was going to be the theme for this concert, did you all go out and get Queen t-shirts? Because I saw so many, and there's a Freddie Mercury cutout in your practice space. But there's an awful lot of Queen pun t-shirts going on amongst the folks in the choir.
Kate, tell us what your t-shirt says.
My t-shirt says, Freddie Mercury, don't stop meow.
Don't stop.
And it has a lovely animated cat with a mustache and some buck teeth. Just
like
saying.
good old Freddie. I don't know if we're going to get a chance to talk to Tony Lechner, the founder and conductor, because he's in there conducting the rest of the chorus. But how long has this chorus been in existence? I hear, Kate, that you've been there since Jump Street.
I have been. I'm the OG of Rock Voices.
It was really just me and Tony at one point.
What are you doing out in this road? Can we join?
Actually, we used to practice across the street at what was North Star back in the day. He put an ad in the newspaper at the Valley Advocate, which said, do you like to sing in the shower? You might want to come sing rock songs with a choir and show up at this time at this place. And 50 some odd of us showed up, and 37, I believe, stayed with it from 2012 to now. And it has grown and grown. And we now have 27 choirs which sing all the same music that Tony arranges and writes the most lovely scores for, and all of our part separations. And we all sing the same thing in I don't know how many different states there are. I believe there's like 9 different states that we sing in.
But it all started here.
But it all originated in the Happy Valley, and the valley got happier with the advent of Tony Lechner's Rock Voices.
Keep yourself alive.
We're in a lull in the rehearsal, and we've got a minute with the maestro, Tony Lechner, the founder of Rock Voices.
When did Rock Voices spread outside of the Valley? Because the only one I knew of is the one basically like here.
Oh, I think in 2013 we started expanding. So 10 years ago. But it's been a long time, long, slow expansion.
You can't be directing all of them.
No. We have 22 different directors all over New England, and Pennsylvania now, and New Jersey. So in New York, in Portland, Oregon.
How did you get to Portland?
It's an anomaly. That was Mark Barstow, who grew up here, the Barstow farm fam.
Yeah.
He moved out there, and he said, hey, I want to start one out here. So I said, okay, I know you, so it's okay.
Put a bird on it.
Put a bird on it.
A sad, sad little state.
I am Kate Powell.
I'm Donna Rowe.
2 of the community singers that come here and participate in Rock Voices.
Besides you, how many of that original cohort are still in the chorus?
That's a really good question, and I'm gonna guess that we had about 20 still that have stayed with it. As you have alluded to, maybe a couple of them went to the Young at Heart.
Graduation.
They became of age.
Yeah. How many people are in the chorus for this particular incarnation of this one of, how many did you say total?
27.
27 choruses that'll be performing at
I believe
Academy
we have upwards to 200 at the Northampton Hadley. We're all going to be on stage at the Academy of Music.
Donna, I hear tell you might be newer to this chorus.
I've been with this choir for 10 years.
Oh.
I came to a show.
That's new by Hilltown standards.
Yeah, right, I know. I came to a show 10 years ago at a church in Hadley when we were doing Queen. And I went with a friend, and his wife was singing, and he said, you could do this. And I said, Dave, I can't audition. I'll pass out. I can't do that. No auditions. I said, I can't read music. You don't have to read music. And I said, where do I sign up? And that was 10 years ago this summer.
Have you learned to read music? Because everybody in there is holding a score.
Yeah, a little bit. But I really remember the music kind of with muscle memory and my ear.
Yeah, I was air drumming to Bohemian Rhapsody.
I know the notes go up and down.
Yeah, but you can see the movement of the score. Even if you can't read music, it often helps a lot, like shape singing. Like you can see where the notes are going, and even if you don't necessarily know which notes those are, you'll know about where to go.
Yeah. Many of us do that.
Yeah.
And shape singing has a historic tradition in this area too, and it's a community sing-along thing. And we're talking about Rock Voices, who's going to play Academy of Music Saturday. You don't just do Queen, despite the fact that 10 years ago, Donna, you did Queen, and you're doing Queen now. What are some of the other themes that Rock Voices have performed in your times over the years doing this?
We did a summer of Motown a few years ago.
80s, the Beatles.
Sometimes it's just a mix of new music, old music, but it's all rock and roll and a little pop. Tony asks members to make song suggestions, and he chooses a group of songs that go together, and sometimes we do that, and sometimes we have a theme.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I mean, I think everybody starts for the same reason, which is everybody likes to sing the music, but why we stay is the love of the group itself and the camaraderie that we have and the support that it gives us and how we support the community that we're in. I mean, every concert that we do, we sponsor a particular charity. And for this concert, we're sponsoring A Positive Place, which is an HIV/AIDS promotion group, which helps people with so many facets of that disease. Last season, we raised $3,600 for the charity that we sponsor, which was the food bank. So we can only hope to keep raising this money, and it builds awareness. The people that we host for the charity come to the concerts. They have a platform to be able to speak, and we love it.
Perfect charity for a Queen tribute.
That's what we
Right?
got
It's
to.
Freddie Mercury. I always think of Freddie Mercury as the first person I knew who died of AIDS. I mean, like, I remember the funeral on TV. I mean, it was really like a heartbreaking thing, and this is just still going on out there, and so it's great that that's what you're raising money for.
Well, the members support, they put forth names, and we actually held back on this one because this had been suggested before, but he knew Queen was coming.
We all get along so well and we support each other, but we also have people from all walks of life in this choir and people who are
And all
different.
wheelchairs of life, I
Well,
see.
yes. I mean, we have lots of folks who are differently abled in many, many different ways. And we're very welcoming and accommodating. And it just makes this choir a very vivid representation of our larger community here in the Valley.
How much time do you get to practice before you have to go on stage and sing like Freddie Mercury?
And or how much time do you have to commit if you like want to do this thing, but you're a busy person in your busy life?
Well, at bare minimum, we rehearse for 2 hours every week for a 12-week season. But he makes it very easy to be able to support yourself at home as well. Because we don't read music, or we don't have to read music, he provides CDs so that you can listen to your actual part. So whatever part you are, you can hear a lovely person singing your part in the perfect notes, and you can just repeat it forever in your car or wherever you are.
Practice in the
You
shower
can
where it all
practice
began.
Where it all began, exactly.
The other thing is we can visit other choirs and rehearse with them. In Northampton Hadley, we can rehearse on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we can go elsewhere to other choirs, Brattleboro, Keene, as far away as Albany. There's a Rock Voices in Portland, Oregon.
So I'm assuming Portland, Oregon isn't going to be on
No, they
stage
don't
in
come.
Northampton, but are they going to? But is everybody else? Is Brattleboro, is Keene going to be on stage?
Usually we allow members from other groups to come, but because we have such a lot, it's Queen.
Yeah, everybody
So
wants
we
in.
we have over 200 people. We are limited with the staging
Yeah.
at the Academy of Music, so usually we can take members from other groups, but they take us, and that's one of our favorite things to do. We have members who are like, road trip every weekend. They go to the 3 concerts of the weekend in all different places, and it's like a party for
It's incredible because I remember meeting Tony when this concept began very early on. And the thing that I love about what you're doing all here, and it's interesting that we're in a church, is that there was a time when people were more committed to a religious life. And I think that has waned greatly in the last 50 to 100 years. But there's something about getting together and this sense of corporate joy. Maybe you feel it if you go to like a sporting event and you're rooting for your team all together. But something about getting together and singing together resonates on this powerful spiritual level that I'm an agnostic about where or what it actually is or means, but there's a there. Do you feel that there when you all get together and sing, whether it's Motown or Queen or something from Shape Notes or a hymnal?
One of our mottos is healing ourselves and others through song. There are people who come here and say this is their weekly therapy. There are people who network professionally. We do really care about each other, and this is for a lot of us, this is our place to be our authentic selves, to sing, to be happy, to send off those endorphins and go home and just feel brighter and lighter.
In similar fashion, are there people who only come to the rehearsals and never get up on stage?
Sometimes that's true.
So that you don't have to feel pressure to perform in
No,
front of a
not
big
at all.
audience at the Academy of Music, but you still get the joy.
Singing under pressure. There's no pressure to sing under pressure.
Good one.
Yeah, I can't groan because it's not Monty saying it.
Go right ahead.
No, it's okay.
I've never tried out for a solo because it makes me too nervous, but I love just singing. This is my happy place for sure.
And you had a solo that we got to hear.
Yes.
Oh, Kate's great.
I love to try out.
You don't have to try out to be a member of the chorus.
No,
for the
that's true.
solo.
Oh, no.
True.
You only,
So that's actually
but that's a very good point, because you do have to try out because this is a business as well, and we sell tickets. So we try to put forth the best show that we could possibly put forth. So we need to have members who have proved that they can stand up in front of other people and sing. So that's one of the best nights of our entire season, is the night that we all try out, because we all come. There will be 200 people there listening, even if you're not trying out for a solo, because it's just joyous to hear somebody else. Some people for the first time, and in this particular show, we have 4 brand new members. They've never sang with Rock Voices before, who receive solos.
Wow.
It's so exciting to hear somebody find their joy.
All right, stop. Collaborate and listen. Ice is back with a brand new edition. Something grabs a hold of me tightly. No, like a harpoon, daily and nightly. Will it ever stop? Yo, I don't know. Turn out the lights and I'm
The mic like a vandal. Turn out
Dance, but more to speak of that booms. I'm killing your brain like a poisonous mushroom, deadly. When I play a dope melody, anything less than the best is a felony. Love it or leave it.
You better.
Wait! Oh, I was gonna do the back.
Kid, don't play.
It is Live Music Friday here on the Fabulous 413. I feel terrible that I did that to Queen and David Bowie, but I also feel fantastic that we did.
If you feel like you missed out by not going to Mass Mocha and participating in Bang on a Can karaoke last night, then you just got a little slice.
Oh, wow. Well, that's Rock Voices, and they are at the Academy of Music. Tomorrow. Next week on the Fabulous 413, no more white rap. We hope you're not musiced out yet, because we have a bunch more for you.
We'll hear about a new memoir tying the 413 to Cass Elliot of the Mamas and the Papas.
Singer-songwriter M. Ward, who you're listening to right now, will make a stop here in the studio before his Iron Horse show Monday night.
I'm super excited about that. We will once again broadcast live with the founders and fellows of Loud Weekend and the Bang on a Can Summer Session.
And we'll go party in Holyoke with Fiestas Patronales,
which will be extra exciting.
I'm Monty Belmonte.
I am Khalees Smith. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. We will see you on Monday on the Fabulous 413.